Recently, I had a conversation with somebody I've always known to be a liberal, and it was an awkward conversation. It only lasted a few hours. I really didn't even want to have it. At the beginning, when he started talking about politics, I said, I don't want to talk politics. And then a couple times during the conversation, I said, I just don't want to talk politics anymore. I even tried to change the subject, but he kept steering it back onto politics. And something changed over the course of the conversation. About halfway through the conversation, he told me, he said, look, you think I'm a liberal, but I'm really a moderate. I see value in some conservative ideas, and I see some values in some liberal ideas. I'm a moderate. And I was thinking, I've never known you to give any credit to anything conservative in all these years. Everything that I've seen you do, everything I've heard you say, says that you're a very left-wing liberal. So I think he said that just so he seemed more approachable, so he seemed more neutral. And I really didn't appreciate the insincerity in that. He also said that him and I are a lot more alike than I thought. And I was thinking to myself, no, we're nothing alike. And then he said, you know what? You're not such a radical conservative. And I was thinking to myself, well, you have the right to judge me, but that statement was fairly ignorant. Apparently you don't know me as well as I thought you did. Now, also around the halfway point of the conversation, he explained his entire motivation for talking to me about politics for so long. It was that he lives in an area that's highly populated by conservatives, and he keeps losing conservative friends. They don't want to talk to him anymore, and he doesn't know why. So he thought, since I was conservative and he knew me, maybe if we had a conversation, he would figure it out. Interestingly, in the beginning of the conversation, he said, if there was one thing that you'd like to see change about America, what would that be? And I told him, I said, we've gone away from our patriotism, and I'd like to see real patriotism come back. And I defined what I thought patriotism was. And if I talk about that, that's for another video. And he said, okay, my turn. He goes, America has forgotten how to compromise. And I thought, well, this is interesting, because there's so many people on my side that say no compromise. And I've talked about compromise, but I think when I talk about it, I'm talking about something entirely different than other people that claim to be conservative, that claim to be pro-Second Amendment, consider compromise. When two sides compromise, or multiple sides compromise, everybody walks away from the table with something they wanted. They might have had to give up something to get something, but they put priority on different things. When they compromise, they find a way for both sides to get everything they wanted, because there's got to be a way to make things work. It is possible with enough time and enough effort to possibly get both sides where they get everything they wanted. That's compromise. When one side gets everything and the other side walks away with nothing, or one side gets everything and the other side walks away saying, we didn't lose as much as we could have, that's not compromise. Unfortunately, that latter scenario, I've had to support sometimes because that's all we had. Seriously, we were going to lose everything, and we were able to do some damage control. That is not the way I like to do business. That is not the way I like to see things happen. But unfortunately, that's the way some things have happened. Now, our side, the conservative side, we have elected officials that have not done what we have put them in office to do. We put them in office to fight for certain issues, and in some cases they capitulate. They capitulate, or they jump on the other side with the opponent. And that's not what we put them in office for. Now you might say, well, it's vote for them again or vote for the other side. So what do? That's what primaries are for. You vote this person out in the primaries, and you get somebody new in there with new promises. And if they fail, then you vote them out in the primaries again and again and again. But regardless, our side has been giving in and caving and jumping on board with the other side more than fighting for us and saying we're either going to win this or we're going to walk away with a compromise that you guys are okay with. But they haven't. So in some ways, maybe he's right. In some ways, maybe Americans have forgotten how to compromise, at least in the political arena. But he blamed everything on one person, Newt Gingrich. Now, I neither support nor have anything against Newt Gingrich. As a matter of fact, I don't know a whole lot about him. But he said decades ago, Newt Gingrich wrecked it for America. And because of that, we don't compromise anymore. And he kept bringing up Newt Gingrich throughout the night. So he's got a beef against Newt Gingrich. And I have nothing to say good or bad about the man, right? So we talked about different political subjects. He kept trying to steer the conversation back onto the Second Amendment. And at one point I told him, I said, look, dude, there's more to me than guns, okay? Well, why is it so important to you? It's so important to me because without the deterrent that the people can rise against tyrannical government and fight back, without that deterrent, the government will walk all over us. Without the Second Amendment, all other rights fail. One of the things he said that really perturbed me was that the Second Amendment doesn't apply outside of your home. Bullshit, it doesn't. Heller proved that it applies outside of your home. Now, some states choose to ignore that, but in general, most states don't follow the Second Amendment the way it's written. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. It's no plainer than that. That is so simple. So pretty much every gun law that's out there is an infringement, and we are the people. Keep and bear, own, use, maintain, take with you wherever you choose. It's as simple as that. So him and I just did not agree in the interpretation of the Second Amendment. He tried to play some elitist thing saying that he got a concealed carry permit. This is funny. Him and his wife got concealed carry permits last year. Yeah, because they were scared. They were quaking in their liberal boots. They don't even own a gun. They don't even own a gun. I told him he was virtue signaling. He didn't agree with me. On other topics, when I could get him to stop talking about the Second Amendment, such as income tax or immigration or education, we didn't agree. And his answers to almost everything that I proposed were no, you're wrong, you can't do that, that's against the Constitution. When we got to that's against the Constitution, I said, then let's amend the Constitution. And he did not want to amend the Constitution at all. He said, you can't. Seriously, he said that. He said, you can't. Then why do we have amendments, dude? At one point, we were arguing over something, and he just started making up facts on the fly. And I had facts to back me up. As a matter of fact, I pointed out to him a few years ago a statement that he had made because he skimmed a headline from 5 years ago and was disagreeing with me. He didn't take the time to do the research. And it was about magazine capacity limits in Massachusetts. He skimmed a headline from before the law took effect, and he goes, it's not there. And yes, it is. I know my facts, especially when it comes to the Second Amendment. And he adamantly disagreed with me and said I was wrong. At one point, he stuck his hand out, and he said, I'll bet you X number of dollars. The guy's pretty well off. He was flaunting his money. You see, his virtue signaling about the carry permit, which he says, now that I have government permission, I can leave my house with a gun, but you can't. I said, well, actually, in your state, I can because they got constitutional carry. He goes, I don't agree with that. That's not right. You should have to have a permit. You need to have government permission to do this. Otherwise, you could be a bad guy walking around. Yeah, because bad guys take the time to get a carry permit. And I said, no, constitutional carry is what it says it is. They're following the Constitution. He goes, even cops don't agree with this law. I go, yeah, liberal cops don't agree with it. So he was saying there are rules for me and not for thee. Because he lives in a state where he simply takes an online test and pays a fee, he's got a permit. What about the states where you have to take a class, or the class is multiple days, where the permit is expensive? He took a multiple choice questionnaire on a freaking website. That's his state's concealed carry permit. Maybe he'd think differently if he had to pay hundreds of dollars or more, take a test, where he had to actually prove marksmanship and sit in a classroom for 2 days. But, once again, rules for me, not for thee. His hypocrisy throughout the night was blatant. He talked about in the beginning, Americans in the political arena have forgotten how to compromise. But all throughout the night, he wouldn't compromise with me. At one point, he told me what he wanted most with regard to the Second Amendment. And I told him what I wanted most with regard to the Second Amendment. And I said, I can't figure out a way for both of us to get what we want. I just can't think of a way to make this work. And he didn't come back with anything. He literally didn't say anything. He didn't try at any point to come up with an idea to make both of our ideas work. He didn't even come up with an idea to make his idea work and mine not. His hypocrisy was blatant because at no point did he try to compromise. At no point did he try to meet me halfway. At no point did he say, I'll trade you this for that. He proved exactly what the problem he thinks it needs to be fixed most with America is. Liberals don't compromise. They lie, they steal, they twist your words. At one point I even accused him of that because I would say something and he would repeat it back to me, and he would do it in a way that wasn't the original thing that I said. As a matter of fact, a few points I had to go back and explain what I just said in detail because he would twist my words. And he said, and I'd said, you're putting words in my mouth. And he said, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. See, all that no, you can't do that. No, I'm not. Steering the conversation, all of that. That's the hypocrisy of liberals. And that could have answered his own question if he wasn't so self-assured and he wasn't so arrogant. If he didn't have to be right on everything and be in control, he might have seen exactly what he was doing to me. And that is exactly why he's losing conservative friends. I'm okay with compromise if it's true compromise. If we both walk away getting everything we wanted, or we trade something very important for something that we don't consider as important or something like that, as long as they give something up too. That's compromise. But the liberals don't compromise. And until they do, I'm not even willing to entertain the idea of compromise with them. The conservatives have been extending the olive branch. The conservatives have been capitulating. The conservatives have been using a passive kind of appeasement kind of thing. We saw how well that worked out for England, right? Remember Chamberlain? We don't compromise either because we don't stand up for ourselves. We don't say, no, we're not going to do this. You've got to give us something. So we're just as guilty of it as the liberals, but for different reasons. So America has forgotten how to compromise, and I, for one, would like to see it come back. But not his version of compromise, and not the version of compromise that's been going on that has gotten so many ruffled feathers for conservatives, for pro-Second Amendment people for so long. I don't feel sorry for him. He did this to himself, and he's going to continue to do it until he can see what he's doing, how he's behaving, what he's going to continue to get if he continues to behave like this. I could try to explain it to him, but believe me, this guy is so stubborn, he wouldn't see it. Instead, he would just continue to go on and do the liberal thing that he does. No, you're wrong, I'm right, I'm not listening to you. Don't make deals with liberals. I guess that's the bottom line. That's the lesson to come out of this conversation that I never wanted to have. And it's unfortunate because some of these liberals are our friends, our family, and our co-workers. But don't make deals with liberals. Thanks for listening.